Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Rita Egidio, and welcome to a Dream Warrior podcast. I'm really excited because Marina is bringing us some information to us, some knowledge, some wisdom that I just found out a few months ago. And I'm so excited to be talking with you. Marina, welcome here. Welcome to the Dream Warriors podcast. I want you to take the microphone and unapologetic present yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and where you're based.
Okay, so thank you, Rita, for having me on this amazing podcast. So yes, I'm Marina. I'm the Soul Alchemist, and I run a spiritual business supporting mainly females, mostly entrepreneurs actually, to connect with themselves, to connect with their karmic past, and to release those energetic blocks, the karmic baggage that we kind of slop around with us, that we kind of have in our energetic field, within our Akashic records. And I help, ladies, mainly ladies, release that karmic baggage. So we can really kind of have those business and life breakthroughs that we're really looking for. So that's what I essentially do. I use kind of lots of different kind of things. I'm kind of a pendulum alchemist. I use the Akashic records. I use tarot. I use a whole host of different things, but I'm a spiritual intuitive teacher, guide, and healer. So, but Akashic records is my main bag. So
I was going like Akashic records pop up in my life. And I don't know. In the beginning, I did think it was kind of an oracle for the future, something like that. And then my boyfriend started learning, and I was next to him, so I was learning as well. And then I went to the scientific part of what is the explanation of, and because I'm still with 1 foot in each side of the world, and it starts making so much sense. And I'm just curious because, okay, point one, what is Akashic Records? Because I know, but majority of people say,
yes, yeah, that's a good place to start. So the Akashic Records is essentially an energetic database, and it's perceived usually as a library because that's the easiest way that we can visualize the Akashic records. And they are a database of all of the information that a soul has ever experienced. So every choice, every consequence, every memory, every thought, every relationship, every kind of result that you've had, decision, choice, action that you've taken is all recorded in your own Akashic record. So you each have your own cosmic library that has all of this information. And we basically can go into the Akashic records and we can unlock this information, this wisdom, this mastery, the gifts that we have from any lifetime that we've experienced on Earth, in any other dimensions, other locations.
When you mean dimensions, I love this. You guys call it multi-dimensional lives.
Multi-dimensional lives, yes. And any timeline, yeah.
Basic, that is past lives or future lives.
Past lives, future lives, parallel lives, lives that are here on Earth, lives that could be, in a different system. Yeah, so... And all of that is recorded in the Akashic records, and that's from your soul's creation. So as you can imagine, each person's library is immense in terms of knowledge and wisdom. And this was only really perceived as a realm that we could connect with when we had a certain consciousness. So they've been around since the beginning of time. They're mentioned in the Bible. They're known as the Book of Life, the Book of Remembrance, the Akash. And it's a Sanskrit word, so it's kind of linked to the Sanskrit word of ether. That's what Akash means, or sky. And we're able now, because obviously humanity is ascending in terms of consciousness, we're becoming much more aware of ourselves. We want to know much more about our own journey and kind of why we do certain things that we do and why we're attracted to certain people that we are. And all of the other stuff, the wounds, the trauma, we want to start to heal that. So from a conscious perspective, we're much more, we're basically on a higher level. So more people are now discovering the Akashic records, more able to actually access their Akashic records, because before then it was really only prophets and saints and those people that wanted to go and sit on a mountain and meditate for for years on end, they were the people that were able to access the records. But now it's kind of like anybody really, if they've got an interest and they want to understand more about their soul's journey and they have the right kind of intention for that, then there's no reason why you cannot access your own Akashic records.
That is okay. Because today I know so much more about Akashic records. I have been studying it. But when I started, it was so confusing because first I did think it was kind of a tarot thing. You could ask the future, but it's not exactly that.
No, you can't. See, that's one thing that I do stipulate, that you can't predict the future in the Akashic records because there's just so many variables, there's so many different options that we could take in any one given moment in terms of what we decide to do. So and
that change the Akashic records on the moment. So each moment is a live organism.
Yeah.
So why should I look into Akashic records?
So the benefits for using the Akashic records is to obviously understand more about your own soul's journey, to understand maybe some karmic lessons that you're currently going through that maybe appearing as quite problematic because you might not be getting through the karmic lesson. It's a repeat behavior, or it's like an addiction, or it's a kind of a desire or an urge, or whatever it might be. There might be just something, or a health issue that is on a continual loop, and you can go into the Akashic records to understand that more, and also perhaps do some healing around that. That then allows you to move forward. It allows you to break that karmic loop that you have going on. So, for instance, if you took a vow of suffering when you joined a religious order 20 lifetimes ago because you wanted to escape persecution, and the only way for you to get that safety and security was to go in the religious order and take a vow of suffering, which was perhaps that vow of suffering might have been handing over your power to the religious order and taking on the beliefs of that religion, which you didn't really want to, you didn't really believe in it, but you were going to put up with it because you wanted to be safe. You've still got that vow of suffering, perhaps still showing up in this lifetime, which may mean then that you are putting up with things just in your everyday life, or they may be quite big. They could be a relationship or something going on where you're putting up with something that you don't really want to, but you don't know how to break it. That vow of suffering, when we connect with that and we release the energetic hold of that, it opens the door of opportunity for you to step through and make new choices.
Well, another question that I have is, I did think Akashic records was one time thing, then you go, or like tarot, like you go and ask for reading, for a lecture of, how do you coach and guide women using Akashic records?
So I go into the Akashic records to converse either with their guides, their Akashic record guides, or my own guides. And I will just get channeled information, or I use a pendulum. So I tend to use the Akashic records in a very conscious way. So I'm a little bit like a psychic detective with a pendulum, yes, no answers. And I've kind of created that methodology or that way of using the Akashic records, and other people use it in that way as well. But you can also do it through a kind of a semi-conscious meditative way, or through automatic writing as well. There's lots of ways that you can access the records, but you're basically working with intention. So whatever the intention of the client is, what they want to know, then I would get that guidance or that insight, that understanding from their guides through my questions, or whatever kind of comes through. There's normally blocks involved in that, but if there's an understanding of how to move forward, then we would get that guidance. We would ask for that guidance, and obviously I would channel it through or bring it through. But in terms of teaching others, we can kind of I teach others how to do that as well. So it's a great source of. It's a great resource to use for being able to take action, move forward, get guidance, inspiration, but also to unlock past life gifts as well that we're not using in this lifetime. Why
Akashic records? What was your story? How did you stumble? How
How did I discover the Akashic Records? Okay, so I was on my spiritual journey probably for about 18 months. And I'd come from retail. So my background is retail, 30 years, very corporate. Loved my job, traveled all around the world with that. And then I went through a series of redundancies, couldn't get back into the position and the industry that I loved. And I got to a point where it was kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Why, what am I here to do if I'm not here to do this? And kind of came to that crossroads. Started my spiritual journey looking for answers. Started with angels, which is strange because I've not got a religious upbringing. I'm not baptized or christened or anything. But I felt I had a connection with, it started with angels. I then discovered the Akashic Records just by chance. About 18 months later, I was watching a Facebook Live. A lady was running this kind of retreat thing that was going on. I'd answered a question the day before. This lady was going to come on and talk about the Akashic Records. She was going to answer a question. The question that I wanted the answer for was what my master program was, thinking that this was going to give me some guidance around my life purpose and where I was supposed to go. And what it actually revealed was that there's a background program that I was running that was holding me back, and it was a program of alcoholism. And so I kind of literally fell off my chair. It's kind of because I had a psychological addiction to alcohol, but I got the physical addiction under control, but I could not let go of thinking about alcohol, how I was going to not have a drink when I got home. So it was that real mental battle that was going on for me. And she literally said, you've got a program of alcoholism. It's here in the Akashic Records. I'm going to clear it with a pendulum. She cleared it in about 10 seconds. The switch went off, and I've not wanted or desired a drink since then. And that was 5 years ago. And so that was kind of like, okay, I need to know what the Akashic Records are because I've never heard of them. And I want to understand how I can offer similar transformation to others. What I've come to realize is that my ego really needed something big for me to really go all in on letting go of the corporate and really fully going into the direction that I wanted to go in. And so my ego was very much, okay, we believe this because you've had this profound healing. Let's dive in. So that's how I got introduced to the Akashic Records.
What amazing. Can you share a story of one of your people with Akashic Records? And I know you use other things, but I'm so in love and amazed with Akashic Records, then I cannot label. I'm trying to put in a box inside of my head, and I cannot find a box for the Akashic Records. And more I think about, more I meditate, more it's so funny because I have been I listen to my boyfriend learning about going in a meditate state and opening Akashic Records and having I don't know if you do that. So have a pray to open and a pray to close, not a pray, but something.
Yeah, an invocation. Yeah.
Yes, an invocation. But something in me say, some people can access the Akashic Records for sure more fast in a different way. They don't need such a open heart, and you need to be open for it, but you don't need to go through this. I don't know how many steps they put it on the course. Then it's you need to clean your altar, you need to do this, and you need to do that. So I believe what I want to say is I believe you can access in a that is my first question. More you access your Akashic Records than the other ones, more you are connected with the source, right?
Yeah. I mean, I use the Akashic Records in a very practical way. It's quick, it's easy, it's in and it's out. And so that's what really, with the training that I did, that was kind of what really struck me as, I wanted this to be quick and easy. I don't want to go into meditation and kind of grasp around or take all of this time. I need something that needs to be efficient. So that's why I do it in a very conscious way. But absolutely, the more you use your Akashic Records, obviously, it's like anything that's spiritual or intuitive, you're strengthening that aspect of you. So you become quicker, you become more practiced, you become a master at it. And so, yeah, it stands to reason that you will get faster at it as well. But what I found with the Akashic Records is it enhances your intuition as well. It really opens up a lot more of your clair gifts by using the Akashic Records. It's a really amazing realm to kind of connect with.
Did you saw in the last 5 years change of behavior on your life, like eating or drinking? We talked about it, but I don't know, did you, because I have been reading and they call it Akashic Records, this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Then people are so affected in a positive way, then they stop eating a certain food, or they stop drinking coffee, or because they feel the connection with the source cannot, or the body cannot handle certain things. Did you have that as well?
I drink a lot more water. So obviously I gave up alcohol, but as I say, physically I wasn't drinking a load anyway. But water, I've leveled my water massively, and that's because I think water is a conductor of knowledge, but it's also a really good connection to the Akashic Records. So you can download wisdom and insight really easily. And I would say that with anything, if you're working with spiritual support team, doing spiritual work, the more water you drink and the more hydrated you are, the easier it is to connect and also receive the information. So that would be probably the biggest thing. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. I did want to ask you, can you share a story that blows your mind, like a session then give you goosebumps, or something that you can extra yours, because yours is amazing already?
Yeah, I mean, there's, oh my gosh, there's a few ladies, but what I find with Akashic Record healing generally is that it's quite gradual. Mine was kind of quite mind-blowing because I think my ego needed just something that would blow me out of the water. But I find that with Akashic Record healing, generally, it tends to be more of a gentle process. And what I've found is with the ladies that I've worked with, some of the ladies that I've worked with, is that they've been able to let go of their old patterns. You know, they've let go of old relationships, which, you know, they never thought they would have done, that were, you know, destructive. They've let go of old corporate careers or their old businesses, and they've been able to step into like new healing businesses, or just get into the spiritual business and the spiritual sector. So I've really kind of helped ladies do that. What you find with Akashic Record work is I've been able to improve sleep patterns for certain ladies that have had sleep problems. Releasing the karmic blocks have been, you know, has affected their sleep. So they've found that their sleep has improved. Some people do come with me with health issues, and so that they've stepped into being able to more effectively manage their weight, feel more connected to the body, which is that's the real thing with, you know, obviously with weight issues, is not feeling connected to the body. It's about comforting yourself through food, maybe not being connected with the inner child and the shadow aspect part of ourselves as well. So the Akashic Records can open up all of that. And that's what I've seen with various ladies that I've worked with, mainly ladies, is just these different transformations where they're just really opening themselves up, and there's this expansion and this growth that they never could see for themselves, and they've managed to step into it. They feel more confident, they feel more alive. That generally is a kind of a typical result that you would get from working in the Akashic Records.
And how it is? So you have a preset of questions, or because I know the questions need to have certain rules. It's not a yes or no answer, right?
Yeah.
Normally, I don't know what I have been researching. For that, you have a pendulum if you want a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
But do you have certain set of rules for questions, or do you have ready-made questions then you send to people? And what kind of sessions do you have? Do you have like a full hour session? It depends of the questions. Guide us a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm really excited with this.
Yeah, so it depends what kind of session. So I do an empowerment tarot session, which is also an Akashic tarot session. So I do Akashic Records mixed with tarot as well, where there's some Akashic healing. But generally with an Akashic healing session, That's normally 60 minutes, and I do a single session, or I like to work with people normally longer. So there's normally a package of 3, or I have like a 3-month program. And we always start the session with the intention. So you always have to be intentional with the Akashic Records. Otherwise, you can just wander around aimlessly. Now, of course, I don't use it in a meditative state, but if you were to not really have an intention for going in the Akashic Records, really, there's no point in going into the records unless you have an intention. So there's always the client's intention. What do they want to achieve? What do they want to realize over the next 3 to 6 months? And what are they going to actively get involved in and actually create, or, you know, try and bring into realization? So that for me is the intention that I use. Then I go into the Akashic Records then to find the blocks. I'm very much about the blocks and looking at what limits us, so that, you know, I can then actively release those, or our guides release those for us, and it helps then the client to move forward. So essentially that's how I'm supporting my clients. Along with those sessions, there's a lot of guidance, there's a lot of insight, there's an understanding of how you created the block, the lifetime that you created it in, what choices you were making, and the energies that they are upholding within the block. So if I received an intention from a client, then my point of reference would be to start with, okay, so what blocks and restrictions have we got linked to these intentions? And I would go through a sheet. I have a sheet with lots of different questions on it in terms of, is there this block, is there that block? And so I then get an idea of what blocks there are. Then I will start to group them together. So does this block, is it a present lifetime block? Is it a past lifetime? I'll use my pendulum. Past lifetime, okay, is it more than 10 lifetimes, more than 20? I get the lifetime. Was that person male in that lifetime or female? Because that then gives you some ideas of what kind of choices we might be making just by the sex of who we were. And then I find what blocks actually go into that lifetime, and then what the first block is. That's really important because that starts off the karmic pattern. And what age were we making that block at? What's the energy of that block? And obviously the type of block is also going to give me a lot of information. So then I can kind of create a story for each of those lifetimes to understand what happened. And then when it comes to presenting to the client, we then go through those different lifetimes. This is how it's affecting you. Can you see how that affects you in terms of you realizing your intentions? What are you going to do differently now once we've cleared the blocks? How are you going to move forward doing something different? And that's really important, because if we clear these blocks and then we carry on doing the same things, we're going to establish a new karmic pattern. And we don't want that. We want to release the old karmic pattern. That's the whole point of doing the work. So it's important for the client to understand what little things they're going to do differently after the session, because that's what's really going to propel them forwards. But that's essentially how I would work.
You have a very practical way to use it.
Oh, it's very practical. I'm a very practical
like NLP kind of. I'm a master in NLP, but it feels like you take a little bit, or maybe because I'm on this side of the world and this side is so into ovnis and extraterrestrials and souls and gods and you name it, and it's all here. It's much more like it's much more I cannot explain in words, but I think it's easy to understand. South America and Central America, they are all into all kinds of God spirits, you name it.
Yeah.
And I love the way then you put it in such a practical way, like a tool.
It is a tool. And obviously, I mean, from a spiritual perspective, I'm very much connected. I work with Archangel Metatron a lot. I work with Master Merlin. So, and I work with dragons. So there's a lot of energetic support.
Work with dragons?
I work with dragons, dragon energy.
Explain to me what means I work with dragons.
Okay, so dragons are kind of ninth dimensional beings of light, and so I'm attuned to 7 dragons, to work with 7 dragons. So that means I can call them in. I have an invocation to call them in. I can feel the energy of those dragons, and they can help support the sessions if I feel that they're needed. Or I can do, completely different sessions just with dragons. But, Yeah, dragons are obviously, they're just beings of light. They're here to support the ascension process. They're here to support us as souls, and they're there to connect to for guidance, healing, activation, to create magic. I love dragon. I love dragon energy.
I know, I love it. That is the reason one of the things then the first times that I did meditations to get inside of my Akashic records, and I was studying about that, was I found my guide, and it became such a cool thing to have it. I have a little post-it with the name of my guide here, and it became part of my life on the last couple of days, and I'm always thinking about him and how it is. And did you, coming from corporate, had any time doubts about how real this was?
No. Okay. And I think that's because I've always been interested in what we used to call the occult. So I've always had an interest in that, even from a really early age.
We used to call it the occult.
Yeah. So I had my first cards, my first tarot cards at 17. I had a pendulum not long after that. Used to do Ouija boards, when I was younger, like
something that I never want to touch. It scares me.
I know. I thought, ghosts and all of kind of like, all of that type of stuff really fascinated me. So I've always been I always knew on a level, and I don't know whether that's because I was never into religion as well. I always knew there was something more than just the physical body, but I couldn't really define it. But I would be interested in hearing about it or learning about it and using the tools that were available. So no, I always, I never doubted it. I've never doubted that, but of course you can always doubt yourself in terms of your own ability.
Oh yeah, that is the second part. Is I'm really on this vibration and reading this and getting this, or it's just ego, or it's
that's where you got to learn to trust. I always have a little thing for the ego, and this is what, if I take people into an Akashic meditation, because I do a weekly free Akashic meditation that's on my YouTube channel. I've got a load of free Akashic meditations on there, and one of the processes that we do is to allow the ego steps out of our body when we put the ego out of the room. So then we know on a subconscious level that, and on a conscious level, that any guidance that comes through from your guides or your higher self comes from that place, and it's not your subconscious, or it's not your ego talking to you. So I do have a process for taking the ego out of the picture for Akashic work.
Oh, I'm so in love for your work. How people can find you?
Okay, so you can normally find me on any social. It's Marina the Soul Alchemist, and that's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, although I don't do much on there. But I'm mainly on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So and my website is marinabeach.co.uk.
Wow. Thank you so much for being here. I have 3 questions for you. Simple.
Okay, perfect.
Or not, simple or not. A message to yourself before you found the Akashic records.
A message to myself before I found the Akashic records was to have faith.
And a quote.
Oh my gosh, a quote. Oh, I'm not very good at quotes, remembering quotes. What's the third question? And I'll try and come back to
the
that.
Third question, why people should watch this podcast between me and you?
Because they've got an opportunity to unlock their own soul's journey and wisdom, mastery and understanding. So what I said, actually, this is a quote that I quoted not so long ago. So I'll use myself as the quote. If you don't use the Akashic records, it's almost like you're only operating with one half of yourself. You can only physically see one half of your body. When you go into the Akashic records and start to use the Akashic records, you can see the whole of you.
Beautiful. I'm so in. Thank you so much, Marina, for being here with us. I'm going to say bye to you properly because I have something for you. But I want to say bye to you guys watching this podcast. My name is Rita Egidio. I'm your host. I believe in dreams, so live your dreams and make it happen. And check out Marina's work and this amazing thing named the Akashic Records. I blowed my mind, and I hope it will do the same to you. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and share. And I see you on the next one. Thank you, Marina. Bye-bye.
Thank you.